Hey there, fellow beef jerky enjoyers. I was interested to see how a dehydrator would compare to an oven for making jerky. Seemed appropriate to share what I found out and thoughts that I had about both processes. Maybe you will find it interesting as well. First thing to do is dry off the beef. This is half an eye round and is partially frozen. Having it firm will make it easy to slice into even pieces. Once the outer liquid is removed, we can examine the beef and figure out which direction the muscle fibers are orientated. I have made beef jerky before, and I know that I like to slice mine against the grain. I don't notice a lot of textural difference, but the main difference is that it doesn't get stuck in your teeth nearly as much as having the longer fibers. Also, because I have made it before, I like to cut each piece about 1/4 inch thick for 2 reasons. One is because you get more per slice with the finished product, and 2 is that if the slices are thin, there is a much more narrow window when cooking to get the texture you were looking for. You can see when I pull on the meat that it separates. This is the against the grain cut I was looking for. The eye round is very lean, and that is ideal for making jerky. The more fat means the greater chance it has to spoil. The knife I'm using is very sharp. I recommend a sharp knife, but it's not absolutely necessary, although it can be tough to cut through frozen meat with a dull blade. All the meat has been cut into 1/4 inch slices, so let's move into the next step, which is the brine. Here's where I suggest you choose a recipe that appeals to you. I, however, want to compare the dehydrator to the oven, so I'm going to keep it simple. In the end, I would like to taste mostly the beef, and if there are any noticeable differences, and I was surprised to find out that there are many, so stay tuned for that. For simplicity's sake, I will add about a tablespoon of pink sea salt, 2 small cloves of garlic, and about 2 tablespoons of peppercorns. Again, if you're going to make it yourself, use a different recipe. I will show the Hamilton Beach manual that has a recipe in it if you would like to try that. bringing the pot over to the stove, I will bring the mixture to just before a boil and then pull it off the heat. After letting it cool substantially, I will add it to the bag of meat before putting everything into the fridge to marinate for 24 hours. It's helpful to have a bowl to support the bag while adding the liquid and other ingredients. So there's the bottom heating and air circulation part, 5 racks, and then the top cover. For function, there is an on-off, temperature or timing button, and then up-down to set them. After 24 hours, it's time to empty the bag and remove the peppercorn and garlic because we don't want to cook them with the meat. Again, we will dry the meat so we don't have to deal with excess moisture. It is a messy step, but a necessary one for a good finished product. Here are the instructions I'm going to follow for making the jerky in the Hamilton Beach dehydrator. There is a different recipe than the one I'm going to use, and it's up in the top left-hand corner. Now we can get into the differences between the oven and dehydrator. I'm going to place the slices on the top rack of the dehydrator, spacing them apart to let the air flow around them while they're drying. I have put half the meat in the dryer, including large and small pieces. I will set it up once the other slices are ready for the oven. My oven can only be set as low as 175 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's what they will have to cook at for 3 hours. The dehydrator will be set to 160 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 hours. It's a little bit loud. Now we're looking at the jerky at 1.5 hours inside the dryer. And here's what it looks like 1.5 hours into cooking in the oven. Finally, I put both on the same rack in the oven, as per the instructions, at 275 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. I would say that one looks a bit better than the other. time to taste them. You can see they are labeled. This is what the oven jerky looks like. It's more pale, and I can feel it's dry and crisp in my hands. This is what the dehydrator one looks like. It's darker and kept more thickness, and it is noticeably more flexible. Let's try them out. I took some notes as I tried the pieces, and here's what I found. The oven was dry, as we saw. It almost had a stale taste, even though it was no more than a day old. Not a lot of flavor up front. The dehydrator had more moisture. I would say better flavor overall. The fat was more noticeable and had a better taste. The texture was softer and had a better chew to it. I guess there's nothing else to say really. The dehydrator was about twice as good as the oven. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.